What's
Welcome
happening?
back to our coverage of the EULCS, where it's time for a matchup between H2K and Misfits Gaming. Joining me here in the studio are Stress and Vitality's coach, Yamato. I'm sorry that we're laughing, but we were scrambling to get ready for the segment. We have Yamato Cannon here, and he managed to drop his phone a second before we were supposed to start talking. But that's a bit of bad luck, but a bit of good luck is the fact that you 2-0'd in your series today. So let's speak about that.
Luck. I think that was skill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm inclined to agree. So why do you think it is? Obviously, this was only 1-2-0 series, but it seemed pretty smooth. Do you feel like you're making real progress with the team more recently?
It's like the main focus for us has been playing together. I think everyone's always look at Vitality. Oh, they have good players. What is going on? But our big mistakes were always like, oh, we don't base together. We gank on bottom while we gank on top, and we all in everywhere. And it was always like just a mess. It was solo queue pretty much. And we're just trying to play together in a simple way.
And I think that was really evident from the Tom Kench, the Shan, these picks where you just suddenly kind of get past 25 minutes and you go, okay, now every time somebody's out of position, let's get in there, let's get a fight going. And it worked really well against Rocket.
And before we move on, is Nukeduck the second best mid laner in the EULCS?
I think it could be the best. I think he's the type of player, like he's always been the same. Like I've played with him in a team, I've worked with him in the past, and he's a player that always strives for perfection. And there's very little players that do that. In every way, even if he can improve 0.01%, he tries to achieve that.
Yeah, well, definitely so. It is showing. You guys have a fantastic victory on the board, and we're going to take a look at Misfits versus H2K, starting off with Misfits Gaming, who have won 4 series in a row, seem to be completely back on track. They lost to Fnatic very early on in the split, but we're not even thinking about that anymore. They're doing fantastically, second place in Group A, and they have a 1-year plan, Yamato, which is something that I feel like you with Splice have also done and successfully. It's something that you're trying to do with Vitality. So where's their level at right now, and how far have they come so far?
I think it's very, very hard to find a particular weakness of Misfits. I think they're the type of team, like compared to Splice, they had kind of a head start because they had very talented players right off the bat. They brought in Kakao, and of course, they did very well in the first split. And coming into this split, I always feel like when I look at Misfits, they're always at the right place. They have a game plan. You can always understand what is going on, and I think it's very, very evident in their play.
Well, they also had Maxlor most recently added to their team, who famously exclaimed that he'd be the best jungler in Europe soon. So just to check in, where is he at now?
Still not the best jungler in Europe. Maxwell has improved on a lot of things. We called out some of his early games, some of his mechanical issues. They have got better. I think when you say best, Broxer to me right now, looking at his recent performance, is better. But certainly Maxlor is like fighting for that statement. When he made that statement, we didn't really anticipate we'd be saying that, but certainly he's proving us a little bit more wrong.
He is, and we love a bit of banter. And truth be told, he also doesn't have to carry a whole lot in that team. He has to make the right decisions, but he has some very strong players. Power of Evil is having one of the best splits in his career, it seems. He's going up against Febvin in this particular matchup, and he's definitely been catching our eye in terms of a player that had kind of a dip and is now doing very, very well.
I think like the meta has been just shaping up to become a Power of Evil meta. All of a sudden, Orianna is meta. Like, of course, it's been like a transition process. Cassiopeia is in the picture, Corki is in the picture, Kog'Maw is in the picture. Like everyone's looking to Power of Evil's champion pool, and that's what is meta right now with the Syndra as well. I think everything is falling into place for Power of Evil.
And I think the interesting thing, despite Power of Evil, whatever people say about his builds, he always seems to have an option to come up with some of the meta picks. And I think you guys just showed with the Kog'Maw, there are these fringe picks that come through, but I don't necessarily expect this mid lane matchup to be a fringe one. Febvin plays a lot of standard things, does mix in the Lucian there and be successful, but I don't anticipate Febvin doing anything particularly crazy. He's just going to look solid and look consistent for H2K.
Well, that's the big question for H2K, because their problem has been that against the top teams like Fnatic, like the Unicorns of Love, they haven't been able to win. They kind of choked again. So from a coach's perspective, why do you think that is? And do you think they can win this series?
I think always when I view H2K, it's all about momentum. I feel like whenever something goes wrong, they fail to kind of cut the losses and take a step back and reset. Always when H2K win, it's like, boom, first blood on Jankos, and all of a sudden they take over the game very clean and fast. But when they combat these good teams, they're willing to fight back after that first blood. When they don't have this momentum, they tend to fall short. They don't know how to cut their losses. They don't know how to reset the mind and put their mind in the right place.
Makes a lot of sense. Quick prediction, Stress?
I actually think it's going to be Misfits 2-1 on this series. H2K is strong, but I think Misfits have been looking better.
I think it's very hard to predict. I think it can go either way. I'm going to lean towards H2K 2-1. I think Misfits have been playing in a way where they play towards top lane very, very much. I think Jankos can combat this and take over the early game very hard against Maxlor.
And hopefully a high-level series. We'll see if H2K can shake things up with a win tonight. Here are Quick Shot and the Fishio to get us into game.
Thank you very much, Shucks. And good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Trevor Quickshot Henry here with Martin DeFiscio Lunga as we are getting set up and ready for Misfits taking on H2K.
Yes. You didn't ask me a question.
Fair enough. Let's check out the players fighting for that win tonight. With Misfits Gaming starting on the blue side, they won the coin toss. They selected blue side. And of course, in the top lane, it's Alfari, the potential best jungler Maxlor, PoE, highest fantasy point scoring man, and Hansam and Ignar, the duo, of course, with Hussein, their coach.
And I'm pretty hyped about Misfits right now. I like the way they're playing on this current patch, and I actually think some of their games as well. You know, not only are they exciting in terms of some fast-paced tempo, we also do see some good moves from time to time around. Maybe a Baron.
Maybe a Baron or two. We'll find out.
Two.
Two teams with some interesting Baron setups. We'll look at H2K, who's starting on the red side of the rift. Over in the top lane, of course, it is Odoamne, the former First Blood King. Man who needs to reclaim the crown. Jankos, Febib in the mid lane coming up against a difficult PoE, Dual Lane, Nuclear, and Shay. And of course, Prolly, the man that'll be joining us for Rift Rivals next week. Currently coaching H2K, and let's see if he can bring some faith back to DeFiscio, because I saw DeFiscio throw his pen on the analyst desk, give up in believing in H2K against top-tier teams.
I got my tattoo erased
Misfits
as well.
is a top-tier team.
Misfits, they are definitely a top-tier team. H2K, I don't know if we can say the same just yet. This game maybe can decide it for us. Depending on how they play, Yamada Ken had a good point on the analyst desk about how when things goes wrong for H2K, it goes really wrong, like everything just falls apart and they suddenly forget how to play the game.
Well, let's see how much they've forgotten since the last time, DeFiscio. Misfits 4-1, H2K 4-2. Misfits on that 4-series win streak, which Shock's already mentioned earlier on the analyst desk. And into picks and bans, Tom Kench, Caitlyn, Zach. No real surprises. Zaya or Rakan, a possibility. Ignar's Rakan last week was fantastic.
It was, but there's enough good picks here for Ignar that even if he gets a few bans against him, he's going to be fine. Elise, as always, a standard pick to look for when you have Jankos in the game. Maxlor has been more of a Lee Sin kind of guy.
I mean, 8 games Lee Sin.
Exactly.
Then Zach on 3.
Yeah. Very much more of a Lee Sin kind of guy. That means Misfits Gaming might actually remove Elise if they don't want to trade it. And if they don't want to first pick it, but I think they can also just take it from Maxlor.
I'm so excited you mentioned Ignar's other picks to DeFiscio because Blitzcrank is banned.
He's fine.
Phase 1 against Ignar. Thresh is still up and available. Potential first pick?
Yeah, for sure. That's why you ban Elise here if you are Misfits Gaming, and I think that is the correct choice to go for. Because Caitlyn is another potential first pick for some teams. Obviously not available this time. Zach, the same deal. Which means the list of normal first picks is getting smaller and smaller. Thresh being the most standard, obvious, whatever you want to call it, potential first pick now.
Especially when you look at Ignar in terms of his play. 2 times play, 2-0 on the split, and his overall stats, 1 kill, 2 deaths, and 29 assists. That is phenomenal play. But what do H2K do in reply?
Well, now the question is if Lee Sin is going to be high value for H2K. Then now that we know Maxlor really wants to play it, Jankos, of course, is one of the true Lee Sin legends here in Europe. Can if he take it on his own, but we see a lot of junglers go Rek'Sai instead, or even Warwick sometimes. So I think the jungle pool is pretty wide right now, with Rek'Sai being introduced into the meta, and we also see Jankos value that above the Lee Sin.
All right, Shay's going to get his hands on Braum, so nothing too exciting just yet.
No. Whenever you see Braum first rotation, you're kind of like boring,
especially because you know what that laning phase is going to look like now.
And he adds no fun to the bottom lane, other than that one all-in we see every 10th game or something.
So what you're saying is it's anti-fun viewer-wise, because it's not all-in, it's not kills, it's not exciting.
It's not a part.
Well, we'll see what Shay can do in the mid to late game, where Braum does become a little more fun, a little more useful.
He becomes very good. I'm just saying, it doesn't become fun in the late game anyway.
I love seeing Braum engages in the mid to late game. Get that Fisher down, split up teams.
And then everyone just dodges it because you're hard engaged as Braum is actually pretty sucky, and then that's it.
Such a buzzkill to Fisher.
I'm just saying.
Okay, well, Kha'Zix, not the Lee Sin that both of us were kind of hoping for, but again, not really surprised either.
No, I think Kha'Zix is also fine. Always have the ability to try and look for these 1v1s, and also it's been a very popular pick by the European junglers. H2K need a mid lane right now. Syndra would be available, but they go for the very safe AD carry choice, and that means we have every role being matched. So now the bans are always kind of up in the air. Renekton ban comes in very normally here because, again, you want to be able to blind pick something that doesn't get countered by Renekton specifically, or you ban away Renekton's counters and you then take him.
Oh,
well, there is a Renekton one.
There we go, ban that one out. I always like seeing the priorities in phase 2.
And then we actually often see, like, for blue side, you see, like, mid lane last picks also being removed, or Fiora. Fiora, of course, because she's a fantastic last pick on red side, but also then things like, you know, being it a Lucian or a Fizz if you want to pick a Syndra. In this case here, Misfits are just banning the Syndra. Most likely setting up to just play Corki mid lane. It is Power of Evil after all.
Well, it's worked out a few times for Power of Evil. Definitely one of those comfort picks. Power of Evil got the wealth of champions available to him. This meta almost feels like it was built around Power of Evil. A lot of weird and wonderful options. But if there's slower pace here, as Cassiopeia is now removed from the table as well. So what is that signal for H2K? Corki as well?
Yeah, they can just take away the Corki if they want to deny it. Therefore, we have to then see if Power of Evil has a counter pick prepared against it. At this point, when Corki has been meta for at least a week, you definitely feel like every mid laner should have a few picks.
When I interviewed the second best mid laner in Europe, according to Caps Nuktuk, a few minutes ago, he said that Power of Evil played Kog'Maw into his Corki, and it did very well.
They just ban it.
And that whole discussion now goes nowhere. So we're not going to see the Kog'Maw Corki matchup. Lucian is open and available. Is this a matchup, a comp that you could think it would fit or not really?
I mean, you don't want to just take Lucian here. I think Rumble is a safe top lane pick, or you can go for the blind pick mid lane, and I was gonna look at things like Orianna as an example, but most of the standard blind picks have been removed with Corki Syndra. It is gonna be not the most exciting mid lane pick from February, but a good one nonetheless.
Well, pretty well-rounded comp from H2K already. Got some scaling, got some team fight, got some initiation. Misfits gonna round out theirs.
Yeah, might just get like a Talia coming in from Power of Evil. Always been able to kind of match the Orianna. Or, okay, this might be a little bit different. LeBlanc decided to swap away from it because, you know, you have 2 picks in a row, so it's very important which order you pick them in, Trevor. It's very important.
And what I like about the Rumble, though, denies it from Odo, but Fiora is up and available. I don't know if you want to run that into Rumble or not. Odo's got a huge amount of champions available to him. There's a number of boring tanks you could play as well.
I'm still thinking Talia will be a good pick here, but Orianna, LeBlanc can also get the job done. Now, I think from my list of good picks against Rumble, Camille, Kled are the 2 I'm looking at mainly as options for Odoamne, and he's currently hovering that Camille.
Well, Odoamne has played Camille as well. Let's find out what he decides to lock in. 7 seconds left. Nope, gonna be the boring tank.
God damn it, H2K.
Gonna be the boring tank.
Can you pick one fun champion here? All right, fine.
But look,
they're
it's
serious.
well-rounded.
They're serious.
This is a try-hard composition.
Yeah.
Something that I never quite understood why we flamed, right?
We don't flame it, but like you look at the other side and you see like explosive things like, ooh, is that a Kha'Zix right there with their sick-ass resets? Is that a LeBlanc mid lane? Is that a Thresh support? Like, you see some playmaking, Trevor. And then you get Orianna Galio on the other side. And
yes,
you're like,
but there is some clean possibilities. Ash Arrow into Unburrow, tags from the Braum if anything goes a little bit awry.
Ash Arrow, snipes.
Heroic entrance. I mean, this is sort of quintessential H2K. Control, intelligence, map play. And this split, they've been trying to work on team fighting as well. I think one of the
It's a good team fighting comp.
One of the first times in a long time I felt H2K have also shown improvement in that area. Especially in some of the earlier games in the splits.
But that really is the most annoying part about H2K right now is whenever we feel like we see some improvements, being it Baron setups, late game team fights, then the loss of focus in some of these top tier matches just make them look super weak all of a sudden. And you kind of question everything, being like, wait a minute, did they actually improve in terms of their late game? Based on just some of those matches against like Unicorns a lot, against Fnatic, where if something goes wrong, they drop the ball. This is a good game, though, to show that you are, in fact, a good late game team right
And
now.
whether or not they're holding that ball, Deficio. H2K taking on Misfits Gaming here in Week 5. It is cross-group, remember. Misfits really want to challenge for those top-of-the-table spots, especially after Misfits caused that upset just a few weeks ago against Fnatic. So let's take a look at the early lane shenanigans.
Shenanigans?
And some of those sick plays.
The sick plays?
The sick plays.
Yeah. I don't think there was anything after sick right there. I think it was just sick plays.
I can see the regret in your eyes the moment that...
It could have been worse. It could have definitely been worse. H2K, Trevor.
They're on the shenanigans.
They are in that jungle.
But did Misfits spot them? I didn't quite see. A couple of pings, yep, some warning notices.
It's all okay. Just want a bit of information. Let's look at the lanes. Let's look at the lanes here.
Okay.
So up top lane against Rumble. If you do see tanks, it's always Galio or Gragas. After first back, you can actually start kind of pushing the Rumble back after he's nerfed to the minion damage with Q. So the laning phase is fine for these tanks right now, and you just obviously become a strong team fighting pick, just like the Rumble. In the mid lane, I feel like a matchup we've seen for like 3-4 years, almost. Obviously a little bit of rework on LeBlanc, but Febiven with early push on Orianna here, but PowerWeaver always kind of able to kind of look for trades back if he wants it, but not going to be a lane where someone is going to kill each other. Not exactly. In bot lane, actually, funny enough, it's...
Similar story.
It's kind of the same, yeah. Braum lanes just kind of try and neutralize most lanes.
But I want to go back to mid lane as we see some trading on screen. Ignore gets a flay onto Che. Power of Evil locked in the LeBlanc. A little bit of a surprise into the Orianna, in my opinion. What's some of the thinking? What is LeBlanc going to bring to the table that the likes of the Talia is not, as you were alluding to in Picks and Bans?
So if you look at what Orianna brings, Orianna will always bring you strong laning phase. She's able to push. She's safe against basically everything in this lane here. So she kind of just guarantees mid lane pressure. What LeBlanc brings, or a Talia, is the ability to leave the mid lane. It's the ability to roam away from mid lane, being it with teleport or just your mobility from distortion over like a wall into, you know, a gank. And also it brings like gank setup, because you have quite a lot of CC with your chains that's fairly easy to connect with, because you have distortion to jump on top of people. Which means if you can't beat the Orianna by just pushing against her, because that's what she's doing well, you try and either gank her with your jungler, Kha'Zix, and the LeBlanc, or you try and use the LeBlanc to go to other lanes with TP, with her mobility, and that's kind of how you try and play around this Orianna lane.
I quite like the thinking, especially if Misfits can play the map well against H2K. As the game pans out, we noticed Ignore a moment or two ago moving up into H2K's right-hand quadrant, placing a ward down, and now all of a sudden Maxlaw's going to leap forward. Power of Evil distorts over the wall as well. So small little trade, little wave, high five, hi guys. And everyone returns back to pretty standard laning phases.
Yeah, and we're going to see that confidence in the 2v2 from Power of Evil and Maxlaw during the game, because that's one of the problems for Orianna is all your damage is obviously based on the ball and you moving it and then having it positioned for like a shockwave at level 6. But it's very easy as a professional player to kind of dodge around that damage in these 1v1, 2v2 fights.
Yeah.
It's obviously much different than a late game team fight. So if you have a skirmish, Febiven yells, shockwave, you know, and then Power flashes it. He's like, sorry, I dealt no damage.
And then I yell, sombrero!
Exactly, and then he dealt no damage, and suddenly Febiven and Jankos lost that 2v2.
Well, Odoamne is getting roasted in the top lane. Alfari was overheating with that flame spit. The passive comes down from Power of Evil. Febi ends up trading more of his HP than he was expecting. And Power of Evil so far, down 6 CS. Kind of expected in the matchup at this stage.
And Trevor, can you confirm there is in fact tea in this cup?
There is in fact tea.
Without me putting a tea bag in it,
cup.
They have learned after I messed it up last time. Jankos, he wants to kill Alfari.
All right, so let's find the Unburrow. This should be easy peasy, pudding and pie. Alfari's going to get run down and Jankos sinks the fangs in. That was a pretty ferocious bite for First Blood.
It is not the... Nice one. It's not the first time I've seen Alfari and other European Rumbles close his eyes, blindly push a wave, don't put a ward down, and then just get ganked and give away first blood. I feel like it's almost a tradition by European top laners right now. A ward was available and everything. Both junglers are staying top lane right now. We're looking bot lane for a hook.
Death Center's going to connect on Shay. Action in the top as the mini-map was going close, but nothing happens in both lanes.
That was, though, probably the easiest first blood of Jankos' life. Like, he walks into a lane that's pushed all the way up without any vision. And Alphari has been missing so much CS. 40 on Odoamne. Far ahead of Alphari right now.
Yeah, 2 and a bit waves. But every time we did look up, Alphari was trying to bully Odoamne, use that flame spitter, pushing him down and chasing. Talking about some differences, Maxwell's been able to farm up a small advantage over Jankos. It's 13. In actual fact, because of the kill, he's behind in gold. And then pretty much even Stevens elsewhere. H2K just with a 1,000 gold lead thanks to their first blood. River continues to trade out, so nothing too shocking here, Deficio.
I'm looking at Jankos and his early skill order. He's actually maxing his E. Most Rek'Sai players that I see will max Q right now. So obviously for him, when he does get the full stacks of his rage bar there with the E damage, it is a bit more instant burst coming in from him. But also at the same time, I think just with him and his tunnel, trying to be able to be a bit more active on the map.
Yeah, let's see whether or not Jankos can get those rage bar chomps down. Prey Seeker, I think it was on cooldown. There we go. Yep. Jankos unable to fire it. While we've got a little bit of a respite, I want to take a look at Ignar down in this bottom lane, Deficio. His Thresh, one of those playmaking supports, one of those frontliners, the opportunity moments. Ignar, this split on Thresh, Rakan, and Blitzcrank is 5-1. And he has a 15 KDA on Thresh. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, that is insane, and that's one of the reasons Misfits are doing well right now. The meta suits a player like Ignar. Last split, I think a lot of guys were looking at his performance and kind of questioning a little bit if he was, falling off towards the end, because he obviously had to play a lot of mages, a lot of range support, and that really isn't his style. If he can play something with a lot more pick potential, a bit of tankier as well, where he can play in the front line, that is kind of what suits him. But I just want to go back real quick to Jankos and his Emax right now. The important thing to highlight, as I said before, with the tunnel is the cooldown on it. Because every time you do give it a skill up, 3 seconds cooldown less on using, obviously, the tunnel. So I think what he's trying to do here is just have a build that actually allows him to be even more active with moving around the map, setting up some of these plays, aggressive plays, against Misfits. But again, I normally always see Q max.
Yeah. The real question is, let's see how many times it becomes impactful, right? How many opportunities comes out down the bottom lane as I'm trying to waffle. That's an Ash Arrow onto Hans Sama. The exhaust is through. Summoner spells are traded. Hans Sama's going to go down, taken out by Nuclear. Che sets his sights on Ignar, and before the passive can proc, they back away.
Classic caster curse right there. We talk a bit about Ignar, how well he's doing lately, and then his AD carry dies right next to him. Sadly, not a whole lot Ignar could have done right there. Instead, it is Hans Sama not only dying, but also using both summoners against a Galio who soon will have his TP and Jankos on this Rek'Sai.
And Nuclear and Chafe both have flashes up, so Ignar has to do a lot of duty on that Lantern. Make sure he sits in the back line. Power of Evil's looking for Jankos. The chains connect. Flash allows the root to follow. Come on, Protect comes out. The Sombrero! I said I'd call it, and I did! Maxlaw looks for Febiven. It was a good escape from PoE. Maxlaw trying to taste Febiven's fear, but there's not enough follow-up. The dash, the chain, the pop! Power of Evil with a double!
The classic one. Orianna trying to help, gets into a 2v2. The ultis are almost impossible to hit this early in the game. Obviously, this one from Febiven was to try and save his jungle, not exactly burst down Power of Evil where he stood. Dodge around, 2 guys suddenly die from H2K. Odoamne though, he's killing Maxlor.
Look at that, Maxlor gets dropped down. You know what that reminds me of? Brother Trick from MSI. A little bit overeager.
Definitely a bit of a different situation, because I remember that example where Trick was in that brush. He saw the Fed Galio walk towards him. He was like, do I just walk out here or do I take that fight? He took the fight, everyone.
To be fair then, Maxwell got surprised.
He got surprised.
He got surprised.
Odoamne with a good roam, as we like to say it here, where we are very positive in the EULCS.
Got dunked on, and that means Odoamne takes the kill lead back for H2K. Gets himself that second Dark Seal. Something I'm seeing I feel a lot more. It feels like a LCS broadcast doesn't go by without some double dark seal nonsense going on.
And again, if you at home wonder why on earth would you do that, because
I'm wondering that now.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't give you the double stacks. You don't get extra bonus AP from that, but it's simply because, again, the HP region you get from your potions, that is not unique. So getting 2 or 3 of them just increases that amount and you get more sustain. Let's see the chase onto Jankos. PowerVivo just kind of sidestep out of that ulti from Febiven. Therefore, nothing Febiven could actually do to save his jungler's life, and he died for it as well. Bot lane, though.
Remember, Nuclear and Chase still have flashes, but it may not be enough. Nuclear flashes before he gets chomped down by Maxlaw. Now Che is the target. He's running for his life. Used the flash and killed by Ignar. Alfari teleported in. Got himself an assist, but if they don't get Tower First Blood, I don't think that's worthwhile.
Oh, they should. It's just a Galio top lane.
Hold that thought. Hold that thought. PowerVivo's running for his life. Can dash backwards. That's not going to be the best Prey Seeker.
Yeah, he saw the clip. He was like, oh, I can do that too. Let's see. Bot lane 3-man pushing in. Galio is getting that top lane tower as well. He's almost killing it.
And who's going to get it? Who's going to get it?
Bot lane got it.
There we go. Okay, so now is it worth teleport for
bot lane tower? I mean, you got the goal from it. You guaranteed some kills, despite you obviously not really helping that much. Then you're there for support in case, because Oda Amna's TP, I believe, were cancelled from that fight before. Jankos stealing away one camp. He's getting a little bit for himself, but he's still sticking to that max E, so his tunnel cooldown right now is all the way down to 12 seconds.
Still not insignificant, but
I mean, it starts at like 26, you know, so...
Chain of corruption.
Yeah, so I just want to see him right now with the TP. Yeah, both double TP come in. Basically, you just want to fully commit it here as Rumble, because then you know you get kills plus tower, and you want to make sure that if Galio shows up, then suddenly you don't actually end up leaving your team hanging. Because you cancel first and you're like, whoopsie.
I was very close, in fact. Oda almost got that tower before Misfits did. So 12 minutes into Fischio, even gold game, even tower game. And I'm looking at the mini-map. A lot of Misfits vision in the top quadrant as they've lane swapped for that tower.
Yeah, and this is where life gets much better for PowerVivo as well. Gunblade completed. He's now able to kind of roam around a more open map, join his support, join his jungler, and look for these invades on H2K and ganking in the side lanes. Because this Orianna, yes, she will keep wave clearing mid, but she can't move first. So PowerVivo should always have that little advantage, be a few seconds ahead. And it's up to Febiven to just call miss every single time, and it puts a lot of pressure on everyone on H2K.
Let's try to keep our eyes on how quickly Febiven does call miss the moment PowerVivo walks away. Yesterday,
do you want to like look at him when he says it?
We can do that. I'll look at the mini-map for the pings if you don't mind. But yesterday we were talking about how efficiently and effectively teams and their mid laners communicate the roam. So PowerVivo drops out of vision, starts to back away, but I think he walked just over that control ward that H2K snuck into the banana bush.
Both dual lanes, Trevor. Swap to top side. One side with no flashes against Orianna, not Orianna, LeBlanc, and a pretty fed or strong Kha'Zix at the moment. Makes it tricky for H2K's bottom lane to sit up here. They will have to respect the engage from Ignar, because so many people could suddenly show up for Misfits. PowerVivo also feeling confident with the traits. You can take a bit of damage in return now, because you have sustain from your Gunblade.
Well, PowerVivo's so good, he doesn't even take damage in return.
That's even better, just don't take any damage. But then you're kind of wasting your item, aren't you? If there is already lifesteal on it, you should really use that. Maximize the item.
I mean, a portion of the sustain goes towards the item's net value.
Exactly.
So
right now, with that trait, he did not get full value of the item he bought.
Well, there you go. That's next level analysis.
Could have stayed for one more auto, take an auto back. There you go.
Next level indeed. I'm actually getting much more excited about this mid game. The map is going to slowly start to open up. H2K have got tools available to stop Misfits setting up any sort of 1-3-1 or 1-4 options, depending on what teleports are available. But it also means they have to pull the trigger. They have to get those Ash arrows down, not let Power of Evil stop pushing out these side lanes and become this annoying threat, which it feels like is a few minutes away.
That is always the case with Pusher. He's going in this time. Once again, taking a bit of minimum. See, they got 22 HP back. Good use of lifesteal, but that's always the kind of thing when you play control mages versus split pushing mages. Like, it's so hard once you fall behind to stop them in the side lane, like the LeBlanc in this case, because you can't send Orianna against her. Because then it's a long lane where you just gank the Orianna. Very easy to set up with chains, jungle gank, whatever it is, support, and you just kill the guy. So therefore, Orianna's kind of forced to keep sitting mid. and you might just lose a lane where you can't actually defend it properly.
Well, Odo1 is going to have to do double duty. Has to try hold off either Alfari or Power of Evil. Can do so on that Galio. Deficio, we're up to 15 minutes, and H2K find themselves around 600 gold down. Taking a look at their gold differences at 15 over the last few weeks. Definitely up and down, but last week, pretty brutal losses.
But you can see why I bought into the hype, right? You look at week 1 and week 3 especially, it's great goal differences from them as a team. They look actually very strong, but yeah, week 4, everything went wrong. We're gonna get a fight though, because there's a TP behind this bot lane.
Look at that, flash play from Ignor up on the front line. Maxwell eats the Ash Arrow before lanterning out to safety. A heroic entrance will delay Nuclear's death, but not long enough. The Shockwave catches 2, and Odo1 at least gets a reply back. The Rift Herald continues to help out. Initially recruited by Misfits, very good cleanse by Febervin. Now the Herald is going in to smack Febervin in the face, and he's forced to flash away. Misfits come out winning.
2 for 1 for Misfits. Power Beaver might not be done yet. There's no ward on Yankees right. Actually, no, there's one to the left. He sees him. Tries to just take away Jungle Camp, but H2K committing to that fight, split up, and the flashes were not ready for Che and Nuclear. So as soon as they walk in here, they're pretty doomed. There's really no way out for them. Che just goes down instantly. Nuclear needs the help of his top laner with the ulti to try and stay alive, but obviously not enough. You're an 80 carry stuck in there. I think H2K gambled a lot by trying to actually take the fight like this, with this approach coming from 2 different angles and no flashes in that duel lane. Power Evil though, he's going ham.
All right, he's down, but jumps over.
Blah, blah.
Yep, I tried to recover it. There was nothing happening there.
Just commit, man.
Try to jump over the command attack, and we'll do the best we can. Ignor, no flash. Flay will buy just a couple of seconds, and Power of Evil on the back end just gets a love tap onto Febervin as Ignor drops. Golf claps from the crowd. H2K get their 5th kill of the game.
They want a mid tower now. They want it so badly. All 5 members committing for it. I think they're going to get it as well.
Ash Arrow's up in just a few seconds, so if Misfits stick around, H2K have got some additional engage tools.
Damn, this game is going to be so close right now, because it was actually looking so good for Misfits with 2-0 LeBlanc. They were just going to play it slow, not actually lose a member randomly around the mid lane, but then suddenly H2K, with that 1 kill into a tower, get a small advantage in terms of goal. Power Evil TP top lane. That is what I call a tempo teleport. Okay. It's actually not a thing in League of Legends, but I just invented it right now. It's when you TP in for the minion push.
Well, let's see if it gets any additional advantage, because Nuclear and Che are already responding. So the tempo TP.
See, now
gonna bounce off.
He pushed in fast, forced Nuclear and Che to defend, allowed his team to start the Rift Herald. Tempo TP.
Tempo TP, there we go. Catchphrase it, hashtag trademark. I want to quickly go back to that 15-minute goal difference, because you bought into the H2K hype weeks 1, 2, and 3.
I did.
Their average goal difference was actually 2nd, only behind Fnatic.
See?
And then Fnatic crushed them and destroyed the goal difference.
They did.
But it's just one of those things that H2K have to bounce back from.
But it's a bit like last split, right, Trevor, where after the regular season, we were looking at H2K going into playing Fnatic, and we were like, man, H2K, they're actually pretty solid. Fnatic. Yep. You know, this playstyle, we weren't too sure about it.
There was whispers they might be finalist contenders.
That's
back
what
then.
Some of the players were talking about. I'm obviously putting all the blame here on the players. And then suddenly H2K in that best of 5, they lost 3-0 and looked really bad, honestly. Everything went wrong for them. So it's just been a few moments here this year with this lineup where we have been burned a little bit, which is why we are hesitating. Now we're hesitating.
Now we're hesitating. But H2K
What is it, like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me?
There is a 3rd one step, but I don't know how it goes.
Fool me 10 times H2K, I guess still shame on me, but I'm still buying into it, number 11.
Still keep believing. What do H2K have to do? What are their win conditions with the comp now? We're very clearly trading blow for blow. Even game, open map.
Yep.
And H2K, does it just come down to Ash Arrows?
Well, no, because with H2K, like what we like to call that comp is the 1-4, where you have one guy who's actually like a dedicated split pusher. It is the Galio because he has teleport. So he's just sitting the whole man side lane. And then you normally want to use your 80 carry and support in the other side lane to try and push that down, while Febervin, as an Orianna, just wave clears the mid lane. And while it's not ideal... Oh, wait.
Maxlord jump in.
Wait.
What on earth was that?
That was the worst play I've ever seen.
I do not understand.
We got a slow-mo replay of that. That was a misclick. I can almost guarantee everyone that was a misclick.
Well, Maxlaw potentially misclicking costs his life and Ignar's life thanks to the Rift Herald. And they don't even get the tower.
You know people right now are going to take the clip of him saying best jungler in Europe, and then they're going to run it right into that little jump, and they're going to keep running it together. Oh man, I feel bad for him because that was definitely not intended.
No. We will probably, we will, wow.
Why are you speaking so much Danish?
I have no idea.
All right, so no minions, guys. Nope. Nah, there's nothing to say. It's a mistake. He wanted to jump the other way, and then Mouse was on the other side.
I wonder if we can get a reaction shot. Yeah, we can.
Yep.
I was trying to lip read, but there was no words. There was no words.
I think he said
follow up that play.
I think he said beep.
Yeah,
something like that.
I mean, that's what it would have sounded like to us. So, Deficio, what does this mean for H2K? They get a free tower, they defend their mid, and they thwart the Rift Herald play?
I mean, the setup for them is like the way to kind of play out the game is still somewhat the same, but now with Baron alive and you having a bit of a gold advantage, you can actually very easily just play around pushing mid and then trying to go in and get vision around Baron. Because then Baron becomes your main objective, because you don't have a split push comp.
Yeah.
The reason you send the Ashe Braum to the side lane is just because someone needs to be there to maximize farm in 3 lanes and actually push the lane forward. You can see Ashe Braum on the way to top now. And they have to go together because Ashe alone will just die to LeBlanc. So when you put the support with her, you get a 2v1, you can push the lane out, and then you can roam these guys into the mid lane, join Febiven, and have a strong 4-man group. That's why it's a 1-4, because your objective is always to be 4 together.
Well, it's just so many extra steps that H2K cannot afford to miss out on.
Yeah, and
tempo has to be right, the lanes have to be right.
I mean, it's a lot of small things, right? But if you actually do manage to push out this top lane right now, you can then walk in, get vision on Baron, and then you can try and force a fight in a few minutes around Baron, where you are 5-man together, which is what your composition excels at, being a 5-man team fighting unit.
All right, Shay's going to get caught up by these chains here. Power of Evil manages to get away from the present. Ashe Arrow going to get distorted away from. Jankos continues to chase. Tags with the Prey Seeker, waiting for the Void Rush. The Sombrero once again. And Ignar's in range to save Power of Evil.
All right, Febiven confirmed. Not Faker with that range on his ultis from Orianna. But I'm just trying to hold mid tower, but that's very low. And now because H2K invested 4 guys to try and kill 1 guy in the top lane, they lose mid lane tower.
Well, that means Misfits eventually get that objective. And that's going to allow them to rotate around. Jankos flashed for the knock-up on that Unbarrow
with his maxed E.
And was unable to find it. So that means he's going to back away. Going to be flashless if any other fights or skirmishes break out. And it feels like the Baron game is going to start. And this is actually exciting for me, Deficio, because Misfits and H2K have had some of the most talked about Baron setups, plays, throws, you name it, all year long.
So yeah, basically last split, and I would even say last year, it became a bit of a joke with the H2K Barons and the H2K late games, because they would lose so many games around that Baron by making a big mistake, die, give over Baron. And Misfits, it was actually the other way around, because in Spring Split we were hyping up the beautiful Baron setups, and just when we kind of peaked with the hype, they started just losing Barons to 50-50 smites left and right. We're like, wait a minute, what's happening here?
I also want to add on to that H2K points about them throwing for Barons. The only team that comes to mind that is maybe more famous for that mistake is Dignitas.
Yes.
So while Dignitas are the gold standard in Baron throws, H2K would take the silver medal because it ran for a very long time. And unfortunately it happened again. It happened against UOL. They had a lead that should have been a series. They should have won.
Yeah.
And that Baron throw. So let's see what happens this time round.
That's a clone.
Oh, hits the clone. I was about to jump and then realized with the animation and the colors. So H2K's Ashe Arrow fizzles. And at 24 minutes, it's now just this pressure game. Look at the bots. Misfits have got minions pushing towards H2K. And Misfits are grouped as 5.
But you can once again see how H2K, whenever they have a chance to send 4-man to the mid lane, they will do it. Power of Evil is in here right now trying to poke, but normally he wants to actually sit in the top lane. Another option, though, for Misfits is actually sending...
Oh, that's baby! A great flay! And that's exactly why Ignar likes Thresh. Maxlaw this time round finds the right leap. He Void Rushes, goes invisible, dashes away. Power of Evil's running down Febiven, not gonna catch with the shockwave. Odoamne arrives to watch his team die.
Outplayed right there. Ignar starts the whole thing, interrupts Jankos with his tunnel right there, and then instant engage from Hansama after. H2K just lost 4 members. That is Baron gone. And I guess you can't throw it, Baron, if you just die before it.
Ignar, you beauty. 5-1 this split when playing Blitzcrank, Thresh, and Rakan. And look at this flay.
I mean, this is such a good play right there. Jankos trying to tunnel over the wall, gets completely interrupted by Ignar. And then Hansama as well with the ult. He sees 3 guys from H2K trying to somewhat save the situation. Why? Why you try to save the guy? He's already gone. Instantly, just try and back away. And then maybe you can still try and save the Baron. But as soon as you start walking forward and then stay, Hansama just sees the opening. Didn't even have to flash for it.
Nope.
He just shot ulti straight at them, hit 3 guys. That's a setup for Misfits. That's a Baron.
And that means Misfits take a 3,000 gold lead at 25 minutes. They get an uncontested Baron, and now we can see this 1-3-1 with teleports, mind you.
Oh.
Fully activated. Good luck, Orianna. Good luck, Galio. Clearing out those Baron-empowered minions.
So again, if Misfits are pushing straight for 1 tower, there's still decent wave clear on the side of H2K, but it's the fact that 3 lanes are pushing at you at the same time. So if you're not in one of the lanes to defend, 1 champion plus Baron buff minions will take that tower down very quickly.
I want to go back to that Ignar play. Those mobility boots, the flay just interrupting Jankos, and something you mentioned earlier, Deficio, Misfits, this meta suits them. You've got Ignar on comfort playmaking champions on the front line.
Yep.
Maxlaw, comfortable playmaker on the front line. PoE can play whatever he wants and be versatile and helpful. And Alfari's unlocked as well. So literally every team member gets a buff in some way or another.
That's what I like about Alfari. As long as he doesn't have to play a tank, he's unlocked. Like, give him any sort of carry, AP carry, AD carry, like, he can play those champions very well. The tanks are just where he's a bit shaky still. So the fact that we don't just have tanks top, like we saw for Summer Spring Split, is extremely good for him and the rest of Misfits. They are sieging on this mid tower, but as we said before here, you need 1 guy who's left alone. Well, that guy's sitting top lane right now. That is the LeBlanc with the minions, and this tower is now almost dead.
That is indeed going to get chunked down in the next wave, most likely. Power Reveal's not sticking around, so they'll need a couple extra minion waves before this gets taken out. And we talked a lot about the team of Misfits, but Maxlaw's the other guy with a lot of eyes on him. Not only because he's made some big statements, but also what is the maximum potential of Misfits? Power of Evil's going to find Jankos and pretty easily escape. He's got Flash, he's got ulti, and yeah, same question. What is the maximum potential? Maxlaw replaced Cacao because they said he would have high potential.
Yeah, and I think all of us, we kind of looked at that change and said, you know what, this makes perfect sense. I don't know a single one of the casters who before the split were kind of like, oh, that's weird. You know, Cacao was super good for the old Spring Split because Cacao fell off. Halfway through Spring Split, he just kind of dropped off. He could no longer just pick Lee Sin every game. And he never seemed to have synergy with the team.
Yeah.
So I think actually the change was just very smart. And the fact that Maxlaw was available as a vocal member, as a guy who can help shot calling, made him a great pickup for Misfits. And they did it actually almost instantly as the offseason started.
Yeah, and week 1, we were nervous, losing the first series of the splits for Misfits.
Yeah, and it looked bad. It looked really bad.
And we were like, oh, this was not the right thing to do. Only then for Misfits to now be in a 4-series winning streak. Just before we talk about the exchanges here, the observers did highlight Febiven's shockwave in that top lane. It fizzled. I didn't see if it was for PoE or just to try and clear out the minions. I didn't see the build-up. The point is, it was used. It's on cooldown. And now H2K will not have that available for a little while.
And people might wonder, based on what we talked about with how to play like H2K's comp here in the mid game, you know, with the AD carry support pushing out, trying to set up for Baron, like, if that, is it too passive, you know, is it just not a good enough comp to play? But it is a very strong team fighting comp, and kind of the thing is you rely on not making massive mistakes in the early to mid game with these kind of scaling comps. And then when you get caught at that Baron area, and you lose 4 guys and lose the Baron, well, then suddenly it was way too easy for Misfits to get Baron. It was supposed to be a long grind of split pushing into vision, into like creating a pick, and then maybe getting the Baron. Could have taken 5, 6, 7 minutes, which would have given H2K a lot of time to keep scaling. But when that instant pick happens, the game just snowballs so quickly, and then this team fighting scaling comp just suddenly loses almost all its value because that objective you were supposed to defend around for a long time is no longer there.
And now Misfits, they need to make a mistake to allow this gold lead, and the control they have to bring H2K back into it. Alternatively, H2K can look for some picks or some outplays. Power of Evil runs away from Che there.
A good thing for H2K, though, is the fact that Febiven is still picking up a lot of farm. Like, he's sitting on 2.5 items now, almost completing his death cap, which is, of course, going to be a big spike for him in damage. Depending on how much he has when he goes back, could also just fully go Void Staff and sit on the last rod. But they actually do get an arrow.
Maxwell's looking for the lantern, and he finds it. Dark Passage to safety. Spell name I don't say super often.
I like Lantern.
Yeah.
Simple, clean.
Easy to understand.
Everyone gets it.
All right, Che's going to get caught out. Takes a lot of damage before he puts down the Hearth. Christmas Hearth, anyway. Blocks out a lot of damage, and that Baron buff, it only unlocked the top tower to Fischio. Mid inner and bottom inner are still under threat, as you can see how far he's shoving it in, but Misfits have strangled H2K off the map.
But the fact that they didn't get more is still a little hope here for H2K, because their comp is still looking good when it comes to these big team fights, as we keep highlighting. And so often when I see Orianna in games, I'm always like, let her get 3 items, and then have one team fight where she nails the ulti, and then it doesn't matter you're 5k gold down, because then that might actually be enough for you to win that fight. Second, tempo TP from Power of Evil, right back to pushing.
Hey, listen, I got to talk to you about the tempo dragon that happened a few minutes ago.
Oh, someone actually killed the dragon in this game.
Yeah, 28 minutes and 57 seconds into the game.
No time for Cloud Drakes here in Europe.
I know, and it's your fault. I hold you single-handedly accountable for
and I'm proud of it.
Dragging the name of Cloud Drake through the dirt.
I am proud of it. Well,
that tempo dragon went to H2K. They've got some late-game insurance to Fischio.
By having a Cloud Drake?
Yes, they do. It's one extra Drake than Misfits. I mean, it scales.
They're winning on Drakes, boys. Objective control.
Let's see whether or not it actually helps them out. As H2K are now grouping up around Baron. 10 seconds till it comes up. Febiven's got himself a Rabadon's death cap. It doesn't matter if you cannot hit a shockwave.
Fair, but if you've been missing a few, at some point you gotta hit it.
It's I mean, statistically speaking.
Right, it's like crit in this game, you know. If you don't get a few crits, at some point, you know, bigger chance, and you will get that crit. I'm sure it's the same way with Orianna shockwaves.
Well, is it the plus 350 LP shockwave nowadays? As Elo's going to be less relevant. Let's find out.
Nuclear. 350 OP.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just trying to pick a random number.
3,000?
No, because you can't say 3,000 Elo, and like, who has 3,000 LP?
I don't know.
Yeah, nor do I.
It's a lot of OP.
It is. I felt like 350 is more believable. Back in the day, you know, 3,000 Elo was believable. But there's probably many viewers that don't even know what Elo is.
Yeah.
There's a lot of players that...
They won't even know for Realm Lord.
Exactly.
Old school names.
Yeah, some old school names indeed.
Who's been around for too long?
Who was that guy that used the trackball?
Always bringing it up again. Curb.
Oh, Curb.
Damn you, dude. You're always going to bring him up.
There was a dude who played professionally.
Don't say it again. We already used it. We used this one last split, and it banged. People liked it.
Once a split, man.
I don't know if that's true, because we didn't use it for like 2 years.
Keep the memory alive.
I really saved that for last split, and I used it, and now you used it again, so I feel kind of betrayed.
Okay, well, I'll bring it to a topic you do like. Baron setups. Misfits are trying to push Vision into H2K's jungle. A little bit shallow for now. Let's start talking about the steps. Push mid lane, get deep vision. What happens next? Because you had a 9-step plan.
Well, you got to go back to pushing mid again. That's actually step number 3. And then step number 4 is that you can then start going back into that jungle. You've warded up, and you can look for that little pick when the enemy team has no vision around you. Or you can ideally start the Baron as well and force them to come in and face check you. And you can then engage, flank from a LeBlanc, Rumble ulti in these little narrow corners here in the jungle. Power of Evil, he's hiding topside, and H2K, they're kind of spread thin trying to defend. But they're still staying around Baron, which is enough to actually keep Misfits back. So we're going further and further into this game, which is only good for H2K.
It is good for H2K and nerve-wracking for Misfits and Power of Evil. Yeah, because it's going to clear out this Baron vision.
And all right, there's the last few steps from Misfits were kind of abandoned. They decided to reset the map instead of actually trying to start the Baron to force a fight or create that little engage in the jungle. And this means now H2K get a bit of breathing room again. And we kind of back to the little Baron dance.
Well, let's quickly look at the items before this fight breaks out. Alfaria, slightly different Rumble build. Banshee's Veil, Liandry's Void Staff. Mid lane is this sort of on-hit Lichbane Void Staff Gunblade.
Where's the Nash's Tooth?
Well, not there yet. That was Orianna, remember. Gargoyle Stoneplate for Odo in the top lane. Death Cap, Banshees for Febiven. So a lot of power continues to grow. Oh, Deficio. How many deaths does Power of Evil have?
0.
Do you know why that's important?
Because he has died every game for like 45 games in a row.
Not that many. I think you're flaming him a little bit. Okay?
Oh, I was...
37 games in a row. Power of Evil has given up at least one death. Last week, Stress and I talked about if you are playing against Power of Evil in Fantasy, he's guaranteed to give you a minimum of 2 points. He is not given that guaranteed 2 points. And this might be his first deathless game.
Wait for that late game team fight.
37. Caster Curse initiated.
So Febiven is still getting all the farm. He's taking jungle camps, he's taking side lane farm, he's getting extremely fit on this Orianna. And Misfits right now, they're skipping all the steps. Don't even want to push mid lane first, don't even want to get deep vision. They just walk straight in, try to start the Baron because they saw Febiven on the bottom side and they were hoping that Febiven for some reason would stay bot lane and therefore H2K couldn't fight. But obviously H2K just walked straight back, forced Misfits away from it. So right now it's actually really hard to set up a clean Baron this late in the game. And you oftentimes just have to try and take a 5-on-5 team fight or get that one single pick first that requires the enemy team to make a mistake.
Oh, it's so difficult. Misfits kind of need H2K to be out of position for them to set up a pick with Power of Evil flank or ignore engage. H2K, on the other hand, this gold deficit no longer matters, and they have an Ash Arrow for engage, for pick potential. So there is much more.
2,400 gold on Febiven right now, greedy farmer. And if he gets a Void Staff before the next fight, then he's hitting a massive spike for himself.
Alfari's trapped in the pit.
Oh, they can actually force his flash, maybe.
Can indeed. Gonna need to run. Jankos could flash on Burrow, decides not to. So all of that additional cooldown.
How did Alfari end in the pit randomly?
Don't know. Wanted to challenge for Lord of the Pit, maybe? There was no one there. He could be the Lord at that time.
I guess for a moment, but what's the fun in being a Lord of nothing?
Well, I don't know. There's a question. That means Alfari is now flashless. We've got this tense build-up around Baron, where a team either engages and flops, or an unforced error can happen. That's where a team makes an outplay. And with Odoamne picking himself up the locket to go with the Gargoyle Stoneplate, reminder this is 7.12. It's freaking OP.
Well, it's super good if you happen to get the 3 enemies around you and you use your Gargoyle Stoneplate into then clicking the locket, getting multiple of your teammates with the shield. That very rarely happens. Like, I will agree, in a perfect situation where you get all of it, it's insane. You get so much extra HP from the locket due to the bonus HP of it, obviously. Level 18, 36%, I believe the increase is. However, most of the time, if you're near 3 enemies with your Gargoyle Stoneplate, you do not have a lot of allies around you to get the shield from the locket as well. But maybe in this game it can happen.
Well, let's find out. Everybody's in this middle lane. Alfari is coming up from the mid lane, turning around with Ignop. PoE goes back up for a tempo wave push.
It is also the rumble counter, though, this locket coming in from Odoamne, because it will negate most of the damage from Alfari. And look, guys, H2K is suddenly with the control. They're the ones pushing mid. They're the ones going to Baron. They want to get the 5-on-5 team fight. I am still predicting that at least 4-man shockwave from Febiven to decide a team fight. Oh, they found the clone again.
Shadow caught the clone. Ignar caught Jankos, but there is no more follow-up.
I like the play from Power of Evil with the clone right there. Twice he's doing it, or done it. Still looking for the big fight for H2K. It's not quite Fnatic versus Splice yesterday in terms of low action, but we have had a long moment now of no one killing each other.
What I do like is Misfits are trying to play this map. Power of Evil is fully committed to top lane split push. It's been 15 minutes since the last kill.
So yeah, but the reason the late game top lane split push as a LeBlanc is very hard to use is you are pushing into this lane to then ideally walk down to try and get like a flank maybe on the enemy team if they're trying to like set up a Baron. The problem is late game, most members are tanky enough that you don't just instantly one-shot them. And also if you walk into the enemy jungle blind, you might just die and get caught and you know then you lose the whole game. So Power of Evil has to kind of walk back through the same lane he just pushed into the river, which means H2K are not really afraid of him showing up behind them. You can see right there, he just walks back down. It's like either recalls going into the river and he just kind of teams up And all he's doing is just kind of pushing down the wave to force H2K to send someone to defend it.
Well, Nuclear, by the way, you're talking about people being popped. He's finished off that Maw of Malmortius. Got the Phantom Dancer, Hurricane, Blade the Rune King. Control Ward as well. Happy to see that. And H2K at 40 minutes.
Third Tempo TV.
They are down 4,000 gold. I don't even think this counts as a tempo TP. He hasn't pushed away.
Because he's right back on the map, though.
This is just a normal TP.
No, it's just get straight back so he can make a play faster.
I think you are diluting the term tempo.
I am definitely not.
To Fischio, as the line of control from Misfits is in the river. Take a fight. Arrow is possible. Death Sentence catches O2 Nucleus waiting on the trigger. Febevin Shockwave needs to hit. Look at the damage. Just Che rather gets pulled backwards. There is nothing to speak of. H2K back away. The only thing that was used, Chain of Corruption, as well as the Equalizer.
So Power of Evil had prepped that top lane wave before. He was looking to go towards it, but H2K around the Baron. In case someone from Misfits recalls, they might be able to rush it down, but they're starting it now.
There's so much pressure. There's no
round number 2
from Alfari or Hans Sama. They get the Flay and the Death Sentence. Hawk Shot will pop some vision. Nuclear got that Enchanted Crystal Arrow. Maxlaw, can he steal the Baron? 3,500 HP as H2K peel away. It's not a Baron throw yet, as Baron has regen. Misfits are now split up and on the wrong side of the map. Alfari's going to get run down, and Deficio, Alfari and Ignar the targets. A Justice Punch is interrupted by the Flay. Alfari gets caught out, and do H2K just go back to Baron?
Well, yeah, they should, because now 60 seconds on Alfari. Power of Evil sitting top lane with that big wave he was prepping before, but if he wants to stop this one, he has to move down to try and help Maxlaw.
Can Maxlaw be the hero that Misfits
that ward is
needs?
outside the brush. That ward is outside. That ward is also outside.
Maxwell's now been spotted. He's using that Void Assault, invisible. Gonna jump in. Let's see if the steal can happen. 2,000 hit points.
Oh,
Shockwave! Febevin makes it count, but the Baron is picked up by Jankos and H2K at the cost of an inhibitor.
So to get the Baron, it is worth it. It doesn't matter if they lose this top inhib for it. They might even be able to chase down Power of Evil.
I think they've saved it. Power of Evil gets interrupted. There's the Glacial Fissure. That's the engage I was looking for, Deficio. 42 minutes into the game. And the minions, they're not killed. H2K, why? Why?
They don't need it. It doesn't matter, Trevor. They got the Baron. They got the kills. That's the important part for H2K. They're running straight down mid. 45 seconds on Power of Evil. Mid lane inhib should go down right here. And H2K have no other waves pushing. And there's also tier 1 bot lane tower laughing at them at this point. But they just need that mid lane tower for now.
All right, that will be the objective. 30 seconds, 13 seconds. Misfits in a 3v5. This will be an easy objective secure for H2K. What else is available to them?
Ooh,
back away in bot lane, maybe.
Well, let's see. They're actually pushing for more. Maxlaw is alive, so it's 4v5 for 2 turrets. They're going straight for it.
Equalizer down onto H2K. The Electro Harpoon tags Che. And H2K.
Okay, that was...
back away.
Yeah.
To live and fight another day. As Maxlaw decides to stay. I'm running out of rhymes. O2 is going to get caught up. The box goes down. Death Sentence pulls him back out. Look how beefy that man is. We get the taunt down once again. Here comes Power of Evil. Another chain, another chain. This time it misses. Justice Punch to safety. And Che puts up the unbreakable. O2 unkillable for now. H2K still under some threat.
Oh, another one.
Death Sentence catches down. And there's a sombrero. That's going to cost you LP. Misfits now have a 50-second advantage in a 5v4. Nuclear's Ash Arrows on cooldown, and Elder Drake may be the only objective they can secure.
Oh, so in the end, H2K actually lose a member. Elder Drake being started right now. O2 no teleport. He's sitting top lane, killing those super minions, and H2K now have to give up this Elder Drake despite them being the team pushing now, getting mid inhib. They then went for the Nexus. 4v5 with 2 turrets still alive. And that now cost them Elder Drake.
Will that be enough for Misfits to reclaim control? They've still got to deal with Baron empowered minions. It's supers in both lanes. And as you see on that drop down, H2K's longest game of summer. Truthfully, no clear indicator as to who's going to be able to win yet.
Oh, so we got inhib down on both sides, but again, the big buff on the side of Power of Evil and Misfits. I have to remember, though, the buff is not that big, seeing as it's just 1 Drake for Misfits Gaming, 1 Drake for H2K, so Elder Drake is a little bit of a tease in this game, but of course it's still valuable. I do see an adaptive helmet on Jankos. Whenever I see that item, I just get a little bit triggered instantly, but then I have to look at the other team.
Man.
Yeah, no, but I have to look at the other team then to decide if it's okay. And you are against the Rumble, so I can accept it. I've seen it against a lot of other stuff, but hate it.
Yeah. Alfari, equalizers available to him if a bigger fight breaks out. And actually, I'm pleasantly surprised by that. Power of Evil chunked down a little more of Odo's health than I thought he would.
Does again have a small extra buff right there.
Does indeed, helps out.
Okay.
And of course, a lot of penetration with his build. So we've reset the map, it feels like.
And we're still kind of looking for that same massive 5-on-5 team fight there, where now the bases are fairly open. So if you do win it, you often will be able to push in with whatever super minion lane you have and try and actually close out the game.
Well, look at the zoom out here from the observers, highlighting some of the vision that Power of Evil's working with. And if you look at the mini-map, littered around this quadrant. So Misfits, really, really comfortable and capable playing in this half of the map. H2K not willing to contest mid-inner.
Oh, a big wave top coming as well with the super minions. So right now, H2K is spread very thin. Suddenly, losing that top lane inhib hurts them way more than it was supposed to.
Yeah, exactly. H2K needed to kill those Winions. That's what Misfits will be calling them. Remember, Nuclear and Che are in the top lane, so Misfits have a numbers advantage, and they'll be able to knock over their 7th tower from H2K. And this game, once again, is just balancing on a knife edge. One player will get caught or out of position, and that will determine this game.
Or Positive Deficio, who's the cousin of Disappointed Dad Deficio, says that one player will make the big play that wins the game for his team. Place your bets, Trevor. One guy. You can pick one guy on each side.
One guy on each side. Okay. I think Maxlaw on Misfits.
I'm going to say Ignar on Misfits.
You do that. And I'm going to say Nuclear on H2K. We'll find the Ash Arrow.
And I'm going Febiven on the side of H2K.
Are we allowed to split, like, hedge our bets here? So, a vote on both sides?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, which one's more likely? H2K or Misfits to find that magic moment?
In this game, with Galio and Oriana, I'm saying H2K.
Well, there we go. The cousin of Disappointed Dad is Positive Papa Deficio. And he has voted with H2K. Let's see who makes it.
It's a soft vote, but...
Inhibitors respawned in the top lane. Misfits will come back up in around 30 to 40 seconds, and Power of Evil is doing his best Prophet impersonation, leaving his team alone and playing the side lane for as long as possible, because that's what his comp has to do.
Oh, he's trying to get a few hits on it. So right now, Maxlaw is around, but so is Jankos as well. H2K, they want to really engage and get the 5-on-5. Power of Evil are fine playing this quick push game, as you highlighted, Trevor. Baron is not alive yet. That's kind of the thing H2K is waiting for as well. They can't really force Power of Evil away unless Baron is there for them to actually set up as a fight.
Yeah, but look at the vision from H2K. Inside the blue buff jungle of Misfits. 3 wards, one of them will just time out. No, I'll take it back. That's a blue trinket. But there's options here for H2K. If Odo wants to get in from behind.
You guys want to know some super useless information at this point? If you look at the minimap, blue trinkets on the blue side, they will actually turn upside down with the ward animation. But on red side, the ward looks exactly like a normal ward, the blue trinket one. It's actually really confusing when you look at it and you're like, oh, this must be a blue trinket, because normally, again, it's turned upside. Oh, it must be a normal trinket, because it's not turned upside down, but that is the case on red side. I want someone to place a blue trinket on blue side, and you guys can see it.
There's 2 available.
Place one then.
We'll do the best we can to keep an eye on that. As Odo Amne is getting run down. Look at the damage from Power of Evil. He's going to get down that taunt as Power of Evil connects with another chain. And is continuing to apply pressure onto Odo Amne.
And now Baron's alive, though. Nuclear is starting it straight away. They want to force Power of Evil to teleport.
Well, this is the weirdest side lane fight I've seen in a while.
Power of Evil's low now.
Gets taunted, almost taken out, forced to flash for his life. Gets a chain down, has that lifesteal, getting maximum itemization value. That'll make Positive Papa Fischio proud. Misfits in a 4-on-4 in the top lane. Teleports have not started yet.
Let's see what happens here. Jankos is still at the Baron. He's actually tunneling out. They're looking for the fight.
That's the fight indeed. Safari gets the equalizer down. Goes Golden. Maxlaw jumps onto Febiven in the back end as Odo's trying to do the best he can. That's 2 Misfits down. A double kill for Nuclear.
PowerVivo still pushing though. He's in the bottom lane. He got some minions still. He's going for the base.
But at what cost? Misfits are running for their lives in the mid lane. Jump there. That's a shutdown as Hunt Summer's taken out. Here comes Febiven. Eats a chain to the face, but the Super's now bottom lane.
It's almost impossible to win through split push against the Baron. Recall. Right now, PowerVivo, he wants to kill Febiven.
Oh, Febiven. I didn't even see where that burst came from.
Febiven killed him instead.
And that's going to be game. H2K flip everything on its head. And at 50 minutes, managed to withhold. Look at the smiles on H2K's faces. They drop down Nexus turret number 2, turn to the Nexus, and strike first against Misfits.
And Trevor, you said Nuclear as your man to watch. He landed the arrow. He got a double kill in the Baron fight. I will give you that one. We actually didn't even see the Febiven shockwave in the fight because he wasn't in position to use it. But it didn't matter because he went back to base, defended.
Yep.
I even said that PowerVivo was looking for a kill to kill Febiven. The double kill combo, I guess.
Hey, that's what you need.
I guess that is what he needs.
You always need to kill.
But Febiven ended up actually taking down PowerVivo, and Misfits, some good moments in the early to mid game. Got that first Baron. We were kind of like, oh, this is actually looking pretty decent, but they didn't get enough with it, and then we got to that late game stage of H2K's comp.
Man, such an interesting game because there's so many elements that you can talk about and focus and break down because both teams had good moments in the early game, good moments in the mid game, good moments in the late game. And it just all comes down to that final decision. And look, huge kudos to Odo-Omni. Odo-Omni getting that taunt onto Febi under tower, PowerVivo under tower. PowerVivo takes that damage. It means he keeps him there. It allows H2K to engage more confidently. Like, just huge pivotal moments.
Yeah, H2K definitely had 2 good fights around Baron in this late game here. A little bit more, you know, calm, collective compared to what we saw last week from them. But again, it was looking super difficult. I think Misfits will look back at this game and say, man, we had it all. You know, we got that Baron, we had the advantage, but then they started skipping a lot of steps. And they suddenly didn't actually create any picks at all or even get to force a Baron fight.
They did not. To Fisher, one other thing, magical thing happened this game.
PowerVivo died.
For the 38th time in a row, thanks to H2K, they came out on top after a close fight in game 1. Shocks and the guys ready to break it all down.
Well, quick shot, as you will see at the end of our analysis block, that death might have been the central one that sealed the deal against the Misfits. But as you guys rightfully say, it was a very back and forth game to a point where Misfits gave everything away. We do want to start in the beginning of the game. Yamato, you talked a lot about how H2K is a team that if they get an advantage, they can get off to a great start, or they can get a bad start, or they want to make up for something that went bad and kind of throw it all in the different direction. And we saw both of those things in the early game. We're going to start by something that we're used to seeing. A first blood from Jankos.
Well, this is kind of a classic. Like in this case, Kha'Zix has a jungle matchup where he can't really fight jungles in the early game because of the matchup, but with the pushing wave, Kha'Zix needs to be here. I think he could have based earlier, not done his golems if I think that was his clear, and they could have actually fought for this.
Great start.
And then the fight happens in the bottom lane. Jankos goes aggressively into the enemy red buff, and that's kind of the problem at this point with PowerVivo being able to roam out of lane, had the push ever so slightly in the middle lane, just enough to be able to roam out. And this is what started Misfits feeling so confident about this LeBlanc pick. This is where PowerVivo starts going, okay, I'm strong enough, I can start playing out on the side lanes a whole lot longer, just from these first 2 kills of the game.
It's like, while the goal values were pretty similar throughout the game, the focus central goal on the LeBlanc is very, very important, because throughout the game, she's going to be the split push force no one can contend with. Even Galio is not going to do anything against the LeBlanc, and that is like a very big kind of, what's the word I'm looking for? Victory point, what is this? Winning condition?
Of course, we've never said that. Win condition.
So I want to pause just to highlight something that was on the graphic before we get into our next replay. PowerVivo's kill percentage, 36%. He is rank 1 normally for kill participation, at 79% normally. This is for mids, as a significant drop-off here for PowerVivo, and that has influence later on in the game that we will end up seeing. But another thing that went Misfits' way was when they find a team fight in the jungle.
And Ignar.
And Ignar just with a great setup here as we look into our second replay of what was a long setup. This was beautiful flay onto Jankos. Mid priority has been obtained by Misfits, which means Jankos is just a little too far out, a little too riskily played, and then it's just an easy cleanup for the rest of Misfits. And this is where they look very strong, is in these team fighting sections when they have the lead early on. Then they end up splitting up afterwards.
So, Yamato Cannon, you said the LeBlanc has all the gold value, LeBlanc has all the power, can go into the side lanes. When they fight here in this stage of the game, Misfits can still very handily win the fights. They can get a Baron even. They are so well set up. So what was their downfall in the end?
So like looking at the win conditions of both teams, H2K have this death ball composition. Like in this case, in this replay where Jankos got caught, the problem was that they're not grouping 4 as mid and just taking mid priority. When they lose mid priority, they have to just take a step back and take it back. And looking at Misfits side, they have a fed LeBlanc that just needs to go bot lane. Baron is the objective.
I haven't seen her bot lane.
Like LeBlanc was using her TP to get waves. Instead of just going bot lane, she could take the inhib alone because the enemy team has this composition that just has to run it down mid and force Nasher. You have a situation with Rumble, enemy team has to force Nasher while LeBlanc is taking your base. You have a free win pretty much, but LeBlanc kept using her TP, kept going top lane. So the death ball composition, all it had to do was push mid, go into Baron area, and LeBlanc can't push because the enemy team is right there.
Yeah, sounds pretty simple. Let's take a look at what actually happened and how Misfits decided to play it out. And of course, we don't know where this call comes from, but H2K, they get priority around Baron, and they're in a very good position.
Yeah, at this point, H2K know they have a good setup here because they cleared a lot of the vision. Misfits don't necessarily have the most amount of pressure off a neutral bottom lane that you were talking about, and then they had vision on Paravivo. They push him away, and Odoamne, maybe it's a little early in the fight. If Misfits commit to the damage, maybe they burst him down. But this is a Galio that is incredibly strong. Stone plate, locket, everything completed at this point. Unfortunate flash out of Alphari means that H2K are able to take the team fight, then take the Baron. It looks to be all in their favor. H2K just with a complete setup here, but it doesn't realistically end the game for them.
No, in this case, does LeBlanc have to be with the team to give Maxwell a better chance of stealing it because she can poke it out, or is this the right call, Yamato?
Well, to be honest, like in this case, this Baron call from H2K wasn't the greatest. The problem from Misfits side was that they weren't grouped together. They have to be grouped as a death ball as well. They're 4 in mid, and LeBlanc was in a position from top wave. Of course, she has to come and help because the enemy team is forcing Nash. They could have stopped it if they came from the same angle, but they got caught out. Had to disengage, they scattered, and they weren't grouped.
That seems to be the problem over and over. And we said, well, Power of Evil, you've never gone bottom lane. And in the end, he does go bottom lane. But that spells out the ending for Misfits
It goes well for a long time, but what's the fatal mistake he makes here, Yamato?
So all he needs to do is be patient. He's poking the Galio that has 500 MR and 1000 armor, whatever. He just poke him because he has Void Staff. No stress at all. Right now, he's going for the trade. Like, he's coming into the third and survives with very, very low HP after he gets taunted. But right now, all he has to do is just walk north because he needs to stand in a position where he taunts both. He just walks north and he's fine. But he makes a mistake, goes back, gets taunted, very, very low. Big deal now as Galio walks back, heals up, and then he TPs the LeBlanc is in Africa. Can't come back to help, right?
Yeah, so far away from the fight, has to recall themselves. That's 8 seconds before you even start healing. Then you got a TP channel through, and that's where the fight goes H2K's favor for what could have been a second Baron, but they didn't need it. The death timers are long enough. You just run back down mid, catch everybody, and win the game.
So, gentlemen, did this game drag out so long and was so undecisive in the mid game because we saw a very high-level game, or did it drag out so long because we saw two very good teams who were curiously unaware of what to do in the mid game?
I think like Misfits as a team, they are very good at playing by the book. But in this case, you have a scenario where, oh, the mid lane is supposed to be the split pusher. The mid lane is supposed to go bottom and take those waves. It's kind of unique in that sense. Usually Alphari is the split pusher, and that is the case. LeBlanc needed to go bottom. That's kind of outside the book. And all of a sudden, Misfits are in a position where they aren't really playing their composition correctly.
And I think the problem for Misfits is the fact that the game was so close just meant that they never felt confident enough to look for a pick around Baron. They played a slightly different playstyle with Power of Evil than we've seen, you know, where he wasn't involved so much. And I wouldn't say it was like a super high-level game, but it also wasn't something where nobody knew what they were doing for the entire game. I think it's representative of where Misfits and H2K are at right now. The fact that it was close, Misfits didn't feel like they could close the game out from being ahead, and H2K, with their style of playing later into the game, with a death ball composition, just say, hey, if they don't want to pick us, we'll take these team fights where it's 5 versus 5. That's what our composition is made to do.
And kudos to H2K for closing that one out. The series is on the line for Misfits Gaming when they step on stage for Game 2. We will see if they can bounce back when we return.
H2K taking on Misfits Gaming.
Yangas, he wants to kill Alfari.
All right, so let's find the Unburrow. This should be easy peasy, pudding and pie. Alfari's gonna get run down.
But then I was like, he will die anyways.
Maxwell trying to taste Febiven's fear, and there's not enough follow-up. The dash, the chain, the pop! Power of Evil with a double!
And while it's not ideal... Oh, wait.
Maxwell jump in.
Wait.
What on earth was that?
That was the worst play I've ever seen.
Go bound after.
Hey, perfect view!
What is spear?
What is spear? Nice!
It was impossible to win through split push against the Baron. Recall. Right now, probably he wants to kill Febiven.
Oh, Febiven, and at 50 minutes, managed to withhold. Look at the smiles on H2K's faces. They drop down Nexus turret number 2, turn to the Nexus, and strike first against Misfits.